Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Hakem. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning, and we have a very, very busy show in store for you this morning. We are going to talk about the New York State budget. As predicted, lawmakers have very little to no time to read through what they will be voting on. We're going to talk, hopefully, about, and this was only a matter of time, the long knives coming out for John Fetterman, Senator Fetterman, a report out questioning his health. This not a surprise when you see the two factions of the Democrat Party kind of at war, where at one point it was called the AOC wing and the Fetterman wings of the party, where it's gotten so extreme that even David Hogg is suggesting spending, $20 million to primary, for Democrats to primary incumbents. So it doesn't really come as a surprise that they're starting to paint, the left-wing media that is, paint Fetterman is not able to do the job. We're going to talk about that as well. Also, Biden in the news, and of course, a lot about Trump, needless to say. And a little bit later on, we're going to be talking with the Corning Rotary Club, so you won't want to miss that. First up, I have to kind of clarify something that happened yesterday, and it came up 2 or 3 times during the program. And we were discussing the Pulitzer Prize for those iconic photos of the assassination attempt on Donald J. Trump. Now, there was some confusion. So the person, Doug Mills, who won the Pulitzer Prize, he was not the photographer of arguably the most iconic photo from that day. And this has caused some concern amongst Trump supporters. Now, why I think Mr. Mills is different, and this is just to clarify, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but to clarify, I think his is different because it was happening, his photos were happening as the assassination attempt was happening, and you can even see the bullet in one of the photos. But this photo, the most iconic from that day, the fight, fight, fight photo, is not a Pulitzer Prize winner. Kind of, I would think, for most of us, very surprising. It may be one of the most known photos in history. That photo there was taken by Associated Press photographer Evan Vucci. This, of course, seen on T-shirts, posters, magazine covers. Conservative influencer Charlie Kirk said, even Vucci's photograph of Donald Trump after last summer's assassination attempt is iconic, maybe the single most famous photo of the past decade. But because it made Trump look good, the Pulitzer Prize Committee just refused to give it the award for Best Breaking News Photograph of 2024. Total joke. And I would have to agree. That is not to take away from the photos that Mr. Mills had taken, very much deserving of a Pulitzer Prize. But the fact that that photo, which at one time, it was encouraged in newsrooms not to show it anymore because they deemed it was too beneficial for Trump. That should have obviously been the winner, as Charlie Kirk said, of the best breaking news photograph of 2024. Senator Mike Lee said, so telling and tragic. Other conservatives online agreed that the photo was snubbed because it made Trump look too good, which worried liberals during the lead up to the election. One photo editor at a major news outlet feared the historic photo would be used as propaganda for the MAGA movement that could, quote, further their agenda. The anonymous editor claimed at the time to Axios, I was right yesterday, Axios, claimed that it was, quote, dangerous for media organizations to keep sharing the photos despite how good they are. Now, the Pulitzer for breaking news photography was awarded to New York Times photographer Doug Mills for his work at the same rally. Mills won the honor for snaps that captured the split second a bullet fired by Thomas Crooks whizzed by the head of Trump as he spoke at the podium. So still a very important historical photo. There's no doubt about that. Mills telling Fox News, I just happened to be down shooting with a wide-angle lens just below the president when he was speaking. There was a huge flag waving above his head, and I just happened to be taking pictures at the same time, excuse me. Then when I heard the pops, I guess I kept hitting on the shutter, and then I saw him reach for his ear. He grimaced and grabbed his head and looked. It was blood, and then he went down. I thought, dear God, he's been shot. So he won, Mills won, but not the photographer for that iconic photo. Some believing it's more of an example, and I would like to hear your thoughts on it, more of an example of media bias. Because it's interesting, the piece from Business Insider discussing Mills receiving the Pulitzer Prize said in the piece, get this, Trump has complimented the works of others that day too. Quote, a lot of people say it's the most iconic photo they've ever seen. That they're right, and I didn't die. Usually you have to die to have an iconic photo. Mills said that, and that is in reference to the photo by Evan Vucci that did not receive a Pulitzer Prize. Mills said that while the work done by his colleagues that day was equally great, he believes he received the Pulitzer because no one else captured evidence of the shooting as it was happening. That is what I think brought it to a new level of journalism. So your thoughts on that, but that is just to clarify from yesterday. I didn't mean to create more confusion. I did not realize, I assumed there was other photographers there, but I thought they were all, because the article didn't show the ones that actually won the Pulitzer, I thought they were all kind of lumped together and that he had also taken that fight. But no, two different photographers, though I've got to say, the Vucci photo, how that does not receive the photograph of the year 2024 is beyond me. I would love to know. Well, I guess if Mills won, it's still about that assassination attempt, but I don't know how that's not the photo of the year. Okay, another breaking story from yesterday. Kentucky Derby winner Sovereignty. I know we have a lot of horse racing fans in this crowd. Sovereignty won't race in the Preakness, so the Triple Crown hope has been dashed before the race is even run. And what is a sign of the times and a new modern approach to horse racing? The 2025 Kentucky Derby winner is skipping the Preakness Stakes, instead focusing on the Belmont at Saratoga next month. Though most Kentucky Derby winners don't think twice about going to the Preakness and continuing their bid for the Triple Crown, more often in recent years, trainers of Derby runners opt to skip the trip to Pimlico and point their horse to the Belmont in early June. The reason they normally, or the excuse, if you will, that they normally give is that there's too quick of a turnaround. The Preakness is held just 2 weeks after the Kentucky Derby. According to Mike Rogers, Executive Vice President of 1ST, which runs the Preakness, said, we received a call today from trainer Bill Mott that Sovereignty will not be competing in the Preakness. Bill informed us they would point towards the Belmont stake, end quote. Now, Mott did note that Sovereignty, who beat out 3-1 favorite Journalism, suffered a scrape on his right front pastern, though it is unclear if that is the reason why he'll be foregoing the Preakness. So disappointing for those looking for a Triple Crown winner. Also disappointing just for horse racing fans, knowing how big of a crowd it draws when there's a potential for a Triple Crown winner. Your thoughts on that? Because as I've mentioned, we have those, especially in the lead up to the Kentucky Derby, had such great conversations about thoughts on horses. So I would like to know your thoughts on no Triple Crown winner this year. Does that affect your viewership for the Preakness or the Belmont? Now, in a big breaking story yesterday, India did strike Pakistan as the tensions between the two nuclear-armed neighbors is growing, reaching a fever pitch. India launched airstrikes against Pakistan and Pakistan-controlled Kashmir on Wednesday, leaving at least 8 dead and dozens more injured in an attack its fellow nuclear-armed South Asian neighbor has called an act of war. India's Operation Sindoor struck a total of 9 Pakistani sites, utilizing precision weapons, including drones, targeting locations where terrorist attacks against India have been planned. Pakistani officials claim the bombing killed 26 people and injured 46 more, including 5 civilians who were killed in, I'm going to try it here, Ahmedabad East. Pakistani's prime minister saying Pakistan has every right to give a robust response to this act of war imposed by India, and a strong response is indeed being given. After the strikes, Pakistani troops indiscriminately fired across the border into Indian-controlled Kashmir, killing 3 civilians, according to the Indian Army. Marco Rubio being asked about what is unfolding, saying, "I am monitoring the situation between India and Pakistan closely. I echo the president's comments earlier today that this hopefully ends quickly and will continue to engage both India and Pakistani leadership towards a peaceful resolution." So this comes after the New York Times reported that the Indian government said its forces had struck 9 sites in Pakistan and on Pakistan's side of the disputed Kashmir region. So again, monitoring the situation closely. Also, and yes, we're going through a lot of breaking stories early on. Then we'll dive into depth on some others. A couple updates from stories we've had earlier in the week. But this seems like deja vu. A $60 million U.S. fighter jet crashed into the Red Sea during a failed landing that injured 2 pilots and marked the second pricey plane the U.S. Navy has lost in the sea in less than 10 days. The FA-18 Super Hornet experienced an arrestment failure as it attempted to land on the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier in the Red Sea. According to CNN, the 2 pilots successfully ejected from the warplane before it crashed into the water and were recovered alive by a rescue helicopter, according to the report. They were treated for minor injuries. The Super Hornet remains in the Red Sea. Now, just last Monday, a $56 million FA-18 fighter jet rolled off the USS Truman as a massive carrier performed an invasive maneuver to avoid incoming fire from Houthi rebels. So there's a couple quick updates. Also yesterday, the Supreme Court, I know there's no way to segue any of these because I really want to get to Biden making the news, which is coming up in the next segment. But just as an update, the Supreme Court yesterday allowed President Trump to implement his ban on transgender people serving in the military. This coming from NBC News. The justices granted an emergency request from the Trump administration to lift a nationwide injunction blocking the policy while litigation continues. The court's brief order noted that the 3 liberal judges dissented. So just over 4,000 transgender people currently serve in the military, according to the Defense Department data. Though some activists put the figure much higher, they are around 2.1 million active service members in total. There we are. So there's your updates, kind of a couple quick breaking stories. Late last night, there was a breaking story, Joe Biden speaking with the BBC. In case you missed it, we're going to take a look at that. We also, if you want to talk about it, and I know at some point this morning we will talk about it, but Trump meeting with the newly elected Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney and what was said at that meeting. We also have an update on PBS and NPR kind of echoing something that was said on this program. Also, if you are just joining us, I mentioned John Fetterman being attacked by his left flank, being attacked by the left. We're going to talk about that as well. So stay with us. We're just getting warmed up, and look how much we've already covered. You are ready for the day already, so you can only imagine how much better it's going to get as we return with Frankly Speaking after this.
Attention, Elmaron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmaron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmaron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmaron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Your water is delicious.
I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system.
What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselsen's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselsen's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Don't miss this MLB season's New York Mets games. Big Fox and Coastal Television bring you 23 New York Mets games for free on WJKP. No extra subscriptions needed. Watch live over the air. Brought to you by Big Fox.
Catch Twins local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today. For all your business and home security needs, we are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. As I mentioned, coming up a little bit later on during our Steuben County office for the aging segment of the program, we will have representatives from the Corning Rotary to tell us about their upcoming international dinner. Comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. I saw part of the meeting with Trump and the Canadian leader, and boy, Trump really wants Canada. And the leader said Canada will never be a 51st state. He sure did. I'll get to Biden here in just a moment. But President Trump had three little words for newly elected Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. I say never. I've had many, many things that were not doable, and it ended up being doable. Now, that coming in response from Carney saying that Canada is not for sale and that the U.S. is not going to change that. And he made, I think he put it in kind of succinct words, saying, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale. He then pointed to the Oval Office that they were in, Buckingham Palace. Was that the other one? And someplace else. And he said Canada is one of those places. So, again, Trump later gave more extensive commentary on a possible political union, calling the U.S.-Canada border an artificial line and saying it would lead to a massive tax cut for those north of the frontier. When you look at the beautiful formation on a map, when it's together, it's a very artistic person. But when I looked at that, I said, that's the way it was meant to be. But we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it, he went on. It would be a really wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. So that's in reference to what Mark said. That, and now, former National Security Advisor John Bolton, who is not a fan of Trump. John Bolton, the comedian Dennis Miller used to call him the nuclear walrus because of his mustache. John Bolton said on CNN, I think Trump is ripping through decades of American effort to build up good faith, trust, reliance, counting on the United States in times of crisis. And the economic cost of the tariffs are going to be bad. I think you saw a little bit of that in the meeting today. The leader who was backing down in the meeting was Trump. He's already made all these nonsensical comments about Canada becoming a 51st state. Never going to happen. Anybody could have told him that about, and indeed, Republicans could give him a lot of good reason why, with all due respect to Canada. We don't want them to be the 51st state. Yes, they are very liberal. As you see, that new Canadian Prime Minister was very liberal. So he had to make those points. Carney kept his calm, made his points in response. Trump never should have said them to begin with. It's not a way, obviously, that's going to affect bargaining with Canada. But Carney has said some strong things, unfortunately strong, that our old relationship with the U.S. is over. I don't believe that, and I don't think Carney or any other world leader ought to equate Trump with the American people. But this is an example of how we've burned up, how we've eroded trust and goodwill, and we're going to have to work to get it back. So John Bolton, who's never a fan of Trump, being very critical of that meeting. Your thoughts on the meeting? I'm not going to dive too much in depth on it. I don't think it came as a surprise that he would have to mention Canada as being the 51st state. Also, before we go to break, and I realized when I read Mark's comment, I never read Rick. Rick has been sending in his take on the world after the broadcast, and it got lost in my stack of papers. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. How did everybody's hero, DJ, do on Tuesday? Meaning Donald Trump. Well, tariffs on movies not made in the U.S., those movie guys have been getting away with this for way too long. Really? Is that the best you have? Well, according to the Teamsters boss, yes, that this is a very good move. Teamsters General President Sean M. O'Brien and Teamsters Motion Picture Division Director Lindsay Dougherty praised Donald Trump's call to place 100% tariffs on films produced in other countries, saying that there has been outsourcing for way too long. These gigantic corporations line their pockets by recklessly cutting corners, abandoning American crews, and exploiting tax loopholes abroad. While these companies get rich fleeing to other countries and gaming the system, our members have gotten, we'll say, the short end of the stick. The Teamsters Union has been sounding the alarm for years. If studios want to benefit from American box office, they must invest in American workers. We thank President Trump for boldly supporting good union jobs when others have turned their heads. This is a strong step toward finally reining in the studio's un-American addiction to outsourcing our members' work. But we'll continue with what Rick had to say. That's just in reference to what Rick said. Let's tariff pharmaceuticals coming into the U.S. Then when you need 30 per month of something, there will only be none or 5 or half of what you need. Oh, and they'll cost $20 a piece instead of 10. Who needs 30 pills a month when you can have 5 that cost a little more, kind of like dolls? Rick continues, not a good meeting with Canadian PM, Prime Minister. Guy says Canada not for sale. Never. The nerve of that guy. Chinese ships pulling up to the LA docks, half loaded with containers of 145% tariff goods. Way I figure is low inventory equals high pricing. Pretty good ciphering for a dumb Democrat. Who's Donnie really hurting? I'll give all the Trumpsters another month and you'll all be crying, Donald, how could you do this to us? So Rick kind enough to give us another month before we'll be crying, Donald, how could you do this to us? Okay, interesting. Easy. All he wanted was your vote. Shame one person gets to dictate bringing the world to its knees. And for what? Yep, let's build everything we need in the U.S., which is impossible. The reason business moves offshore was cost. Build it all here, and as long as everyone makes $250 per hour so that they can afford to buy everything they need from here, everything will be just peachy. Still early tonight, but Trump admits not holding talks with China on tariffs yet. The last few days, he's been broadcasting the opposite to all of us. Was he telling a lie? Well, I'll be dipped. Way I see it is the wheels are flying off, not falling off the wagon. Nobody wants to do business with Trump the crook, and we all lose as a result. That is Rick sending that in late last night. Your thoughts on that? When we come back, I know I said this segment was going to be about Joe Biden. The next segment will be about Joe Biden giving an interview to the BBC that broadcast yesterday, so you may not have had an opportunity to see what had been said. We're going to talk about some New York State issues as predicted, and it was not a very difficult prediction to make. That the New York State budget, that the lawmakers will only have hours, if that, to read what they'll be voting on. So we'll mention that as well and some of the things that we're learning about the budget. Because as we know, it was a deal made behind closed doors with 3 people. So we'll talk about that as well and some other New York State updates and local updates and national updates, all that much more. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Your Social Security disability claim has been denied, and you don't understand why. Your physical or emotional problems make it impossible for you to work. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. Don't give up. Together, we'll file your appeal to give you the best chance to win the benefits you deserve.
For a free consultation, call Lockman & Gorton, toll free 1-800-698-0567.
When you're in, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
National Nurses Week is great because it highlights and reminds us of all the good work that we do.
As nurses, we work as a team and we work together.
We all come together, we all work as a team.
Thanks for being a team. We all work together.
I think what I'd like to say most to my colleagues is thank you.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about we. Thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
The Twins' first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. News.
As always, we thank our friends at Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them for all your business and home security needs. They bring us that amazing view of historic Market Street on a somewhat rainy Wednesday morning. And we are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. So former President Joe Biden spoke with the BBC yesterday. And he was asked about what you could call his 11th hour decision to end his bid for president. That kind of delay, it was not until after the debate, as we are well aware. So they asked him about that decision. And he said, I don't think it would have mattered to the election outcome. Biden bowed out of the race on July 21st. We know that. That was in a revolt to his debate performance on June the 27th, where the people around Biden had done a great job, in their mind, of keeping his cognitive decline secret. Now there's all those books coming out about that because the media is trying to cover their you-know-what, because they were part of that scandal to cover up the mental decline. So when there was no longer help coming from the people behind the curtain, he, of course, crumbled, and it forced him out with Pelosi and Schumer and others calling for his ouster, finally leaving the race on July the 21st. That left Kamala Harris 106 days to ramp up her campaign, which, of course, she lost, but not after having spent almost $2 billion. Last I knew, still in debt, but I'm not sure. But 106 days to spend $2 billion. Think of what she would have done with your money. Do you think we would have saw Doge-like cuts if she won presidency? I think to spend $2 billion that quickly goes to show you maybe the mindset of how she would have governed. But I don't think we would have seen Doge cuts, such as what they're saying now. The Department of Government Efficiency made it official yesterday that they saved over $1,000 per taxpayer. Their estimated total savings have now reached $165 billion. This is a combination of asset sales, contract lease cancellations and renegotiations, fraud and improper payment deletion, grant cancellations, interest savings, changes, regulatory savings, and workforce reductions, according to the official Doge website. It breaks down to $1,024.84 per taxpayer. And Doge calculates the figure by accounting for approximately 161 million federal taxpayers. But anyway, I digress. That's not what we were talking about. But we know with 106 days of spending $2 billion by Kamala Harris, I don't think we'd be seeing cuts in savings of $1,000 per taxpayer. But I'll continue. Biden told BBC's Radio 4, "We left at a time when we had a good candidate. She was fully funded, and what happened was, what we had set out to do, no one thought we could do." You know what? I'm going to read that again. Former President Joe Biden. "We left at a time when we had a good candidate. She was fully funded, and what happened was, what we had set out to do, no one thought we could do." Now, this is his first broadcast interview since leaving office on January the 20th, and he gave it with BBC, what was it, BBC Radio 4's program called Today. "We had become so successful in our agenda, it was hard to say I'm going to stop now." I guess referencing his own run. And I would pose that question to you. Do you believe that his agenda had been so successful that it was hard to say, I got to go? I got to keep this agenda going? Biden also insisted that he fully intended to serve a single term as a transitional figure following his defeat of Trump in 2020. "I meant what I said when I started, that I'm prepared to hand this to the next generation. But things move so quickly, and it made it difficult to walk away. So maybe he's trying to rewrite his legacy, suggesting that, no, I always said it was going to be one term, and that's what I did. Just waited until the very last minute. In the end, Harris became the first Democrat presidential candidate in 20 years to lose the popular vote in addition to the Electoral College, despite raising about $1 billion over a 6-week period after becoming the presumptive nominee. In one of his final interviews before leaving office, Biden said that he thought he could have beaten Trump again had he remained in the race, despite, we know, the public polling, the landslide loss for his running mate. Though the 46th president did not mention Trump by name, Biden attacked his successor's handling of the 38-month-old invasion of Ukraine by Russia, saying the current administration was practicing modern-day appeasement of Vladimir Putin. Quote, listen to what Putin said when he talked about going from Kiev into Ukraine and why. He believes it's part of Mother Russia. He believes he has a historical right to Ukraine. He can't stand the fact that the Russian dictatorship that he runs, that the Soviet Union has collapsed. And anybody that thinks he's going to stop is just foolish. Sorry for the sirens in the background if you hear that. So what is the reasoning? And I don't know what the answer is. What is the reasoning for this not mentioning your successor's name, not mentioning Trump's name? Why is that a regular comment in these articles? I'm not asking rhetorically. I really, do you know? The Trump administration has suggested that the Ukraine will have to accept the 2014 annexation of Crimea by Russian forces as part of the price of peace, a concession that Kiev government regards as a red line directly contrary to their constitution. Biden said, I just don't understand how people think that if we allow a dictator, a thug, to decide he's going to take significant portions of land that aren't his, that that's going to satisfy him. I don't quite understand. Okay, you've got a guy who wants to walk away from it all, Biden said. I'm worried that Europe is going to lose confidence in the certainty of America and the leadership of America in the world to deal with not only NATO, but other matters of consequence. Biden also condemned Trump's expansionist rhetoric, in which the current president has mused about taking over Canada, Greenland, and the Panama Canal. What the, we'll say, heck's going on here? What president ever talks like that? That's not who we are. We're about freedom, democracy, opportunity, not about confiscation. So again, what the real takeaway from this, and many people ask, where has Biden been? Well, Biden did make his first appearance since January 20th on BBC's Radio 4 on a program called Today, saying that the time that he got out of the race, he says, I don't think it would have mattered. And there you are. There's your update from former President Biden. I know we've had a lot of people say, hey, where's he been? Why has he been so quiet? Okay, a couple other updates from the Trump administration. When we come back, we are going to get into New York State issues as well, as I mentioned. Oh, I know what I wanted. I'm going to try to remind you a couple times today. Don't forget, I know a lot of people have been talking to me about this, and they're really excited. Don't forget, today is a Kyle Petty charity ride across America. It is today around 3:45. You know, you may want to get there earlier. 3:45 at the Radisson right here in Corning. Look at all those celebrity guests that will be there who you have an opportunity to meet, like Kyle Petty, who was so nice, gave us so much time on the program. Richard Petty, Herschel Walker. You see the whole list there up on the screen. So that again today, 3:45. Right around then, they'll be pulling into the Radisson here in Corning, and we look forward to that event today. All right. I'll try to remember to promote that again. But if you haven't marked in your calendar, please do. Let's take that short break, and we'll be back. I see a lot of comments, a couple waves coming in. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
It's the 2020 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfrontfestival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th.
Hey, this is John with John's Tree Service. Spring is here and summer is coming. Do you have a tree in your backyard that just doesn't look nice? Kind of makes your property look a little rough? John's Tree Service. Licensed, insured, locally owned, and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Do you have a monster tree in your backyard? Is there no access to it? Can it not be climbed? Is it too dead? We can put our crane and reach over your house and pull that tree down, do it in a safe manner. Coming to a neighborhood near you to service all your tree needs. Call today at 607-377-6513.
Seneca Lake offers you breathtaking views, gorgeous waterfalls, award-winning wine, and so much more. Your experience awaits you. Come experience Seneca Lake.
Anyone, anywhere can record crimes as they happen, and we're going to watch them right here.
He just took his car.
With cameras everywhere, you can run, but you can't hide. Watch iCrime.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We have so many comments coming in. Let's get right to them. These are comments from viewers. If you're new to the program, you see the number on the bottom of your screen. You could text or leave a voicemail at any time. Here we go. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. We don't blame Rick for his thoughts. If you recall, or if you're new to this morning's broadcast, we did have a comment from Rick from late yesterday. He seems to write in kind of a recap of the day at the end of the day. We don't blame Rick for his thoughts on what it is his perceptions of what's going on. If he isn't able to realize that what is happening is actually the benefit for all Americans and not foreign countries. If he's waiting for us to sit there and not be happy with the things that are going on, he's totally wrong. Some of us look at it as the possible future for our children and our grandchildren, because without the jobs being here, they don't stand a chance. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Apparently, Rick liked the 4 Biden years and being broke. Trump is trying to get things made in America again. Do like me, Rick. Quit buying Chinese junk. Thank you very much. Mark writes in, Sleepy Joe needs to stay off the air. He makes no sense like he did as president. If the Democrats want a chance in 2028, they would be smarter to keep him out of the mainstream media. And that was actually, if you recall, we brought that up on the program. He had said something to the extent, hey, do you guys want me to come out and kind of regroup the Democrat Party, give some speeches, do some fundraisers, just get us back on track. And the Democrat Party actually got mad, essentially saying, stay away. They're not happy with how everything went down. I don't personally think it's fair, for lack of a better word, that they blame this on Biden. It was the people around Biden that had been propping him up. If you're surrounded by yes people and everybody says you're doing great, this is the best economy, the best America has ever been, you are sharp as a tack, why would someone in mental decline think differently? Why wouldn't they say we've got 4 more years? So to then rewrite history like the media is doing now with all these books because they were part of the scandal of the cover-up, but also people like Nancy Pelosi rewriting the history. Remember at the time we did what we had to do, and then people were mad that she didn't do more. So a lot of rewriting history in regards to the former president. But yes, I think there's a reason, Mark, why he was on BBC4 radio for his first interview since January 20th. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. With the scrutiny that follows horse racing. Okay, good. Here we go. It probably isn't a bad thing for any of the Derby horses to skip the Preakness. Yes, there has been in recent years a lot of scrutiny on horse racing. That's a very good point. A 2-week rest after a big race is just asking for a potential breakdown, which would be terrible for the sport with such a big audience. Although the Triple Crown is something that racing fans look forward to, until the winning times of Secretariat are challenged, it's not that big of a deal. I believe that the horse racing industry should break tradition and have a 4-week rest between the big races. It's already a common practice in regular stakes races. I'll still watch the Preakness without Sovereignty and wish him well for the Belmont Stakes. Well, a couple things to think about there. I think the reason this hurts is because it brings in such a casual fan to horse racing to watch the Preakness. I think those of us that like horse racing try to watch as much as we can, enjoy the whole atmosphere. It doesn't really affect. I'm going to still watch the Preakness, of course. But I think this is for the casual fan that the horse racing community hopes gets hooked on the excitement when there's a potential Triple Crown. Now, my thought is, and I would love to hear your take on this, and I don't have any knowledge, I haven't seen any articles about this, but the Kentucky Derby was a very sloppy track. Now, of course, you have a big field. Anything can happen with that many horses, and then you add the mud and the rain on top of that. And Sovereignty did come in first and beat journalism. Journalism kind of got blocked in at that one point. But what I'm saying is, if you're the owner, do you look at this and say it's the risks outweigh the reward? Because we may not even be the favorite going in, I mean, in their minds, into the Preakness. So if you think your horse doesn't have, for lack of a better term, chance to win the Preakness, and especially with just a 2-week layoff, is it worth it? I'm not just talking about like you raise a great point about the health of the horse. Of course, that part. But if you don't even think that your horse would win without that kind of same lightning in a bottle, is it worth it? I don't know. Just something to think about, that I think about. Ken writes in, I doubt that Canada will become the 51st state or that the U.S. will become the 11th province of Canada, like William Shatner suggested. Oh, did he really? But there could be a benefit to the U.S. and Canada if they became a U.S. territory like Puerto Rico. They would enjoy the full protection of the U.S. military, pay business taxes to the U.S., retain self-government and income tax, and have no tariffs either way. Since Trump listens to Frankly Speaking, yes, I assume he will weigh this possibility and possibly suggest it in the future. The art of the deal says to start negotiations at the very best for you and settle on something lesser. Thank you, Ken. That's a very good point. Yeah, we could maybe not go for the first state, 51st state label, but a U.S. territory. I like it. Okay. Yesterday, Republican senators introduced legislation that would create an income tax deduction for overtime wage earners. A bill that says fulfills President Trump's, quote, no tax on overtime campaign. The Overtime Wages Tax Relief Act, introduced by Senators Roger Marshall and Tommy Tuberville, would allow individuals to deduct up to $10,000 in overtime pay from their tax bill. Married couples would be able to deduct up to $20,000. The legislation includes phase-out eligibility based on income. So once individuals' adjusted gross income reaches $100,000 or $200,000 for a married couple, the deduction is reduced by $50 for every $1,000 in earning above the threshold. This is one of President Trump's priorities, and it's one of my priorities as well, said Marshall. You know what this would mean to a family? Potentially for a person that's working overtime, they could save another $4,000 on taxes if this legislation is signed into law by the president. Coupled with savings from extending the Trump tax cuts, Marshall described the plan as a $6,000 opportunity for hardworking folks back home. If you're making $80, $90, or $100 a year back home, $6,000 is nothing to sneeze at. That will go a long way in taking care of Joe Biden's inflation. Now, Tuberville noted that Trump campaigned and won on a promise to cut taxes for millions of Americans working overtime. And we are delivering on that promise. So there you go. That they say the legislation is being backed by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, with President Sean O'Brien saying, thanks to the leadership of Senator Marshall and a commitment by President Trump to put American workers first, the Teamsters Union proudly supports the Overtime Wages Tax Relief Act. More working people need more money in their pocket. That must be a shared priority across our nation. This bill will help make it happen, especially when more workers are electing for more overtime to ensure that they can make ends meet. Workers, union and non-union alike, should not be taxed for their initiative and extra labor. The proposal is a candidate for inclusion in the GOP's One Big Beautiful Bill that's working its way through Congress, according to the Wall Street Journal. It's unclear what the cost of the overtime tax deduction would be. All right, there you go. That's just kind of a breaking story from yesterday. All right, a couple of quick updates in the next segment kind of reiterating, again, I think some examples of people watching this program. We also do need to get into New York State issues. In the next hour, we'll be talking with the Corning Rotary Club about their upcoming international dinner you're not going to want to miss. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
It's spring, and Bath Planet has one question for you. Do you feel lucky? Well, do ya? Bath Planet is excited to announce the Dream Bath Giveaway 5. In the past 2 years, we have given away 4 brand new Dream Baths, and now it's your turn. The winner will be able to design their own bath or shower, complete with hundreds of color and pattern options, multiple shelf styles, and matching safety features. It's the Dream Bath Giveaway 5. Enter now by scanning the QR code or stopping by either of our 2 locations.
Don't miss this MLB season's New York Mets games. Big Fox and Coastal Television bring you 23 New York Mets games for free on WJKP. No extra subscriptions needed. Watch live over the air. Brought to you by Big Fox.
Catch Twin Tiers local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything Twin Tiers local.
The Big Fox website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam is brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Columbia University, which has been in the headlines for really such a poor handling of the anti-Semitism on their campus. They are said to cut around 180 staff members following the Trump administration's announcement in March that it canceled $400 million in federal grants over the Ivy League's failure to protect Jewish students from anti-Semitic harassment. Quote, across the research portfolio, we've had to make difficult choices. And unfortunately today, nearly 180 of our colleagues who have been working in whole or in part on impacted federal grants will receive notices of non-renewal or termination, said acting Columbia University President Claire Shipman. This represents about 20% of the individuals who, in some manner, by the terminated grants. In the coming weeks and months, we need to continue to take actions that preserve our financial flexibility and allow us to invest in areas that drive us forward. This is a deeply challenging time across all higher education, and we are attempting to navigate through tremendous ambiguity with precision, which will be imperfect at times. All right, so 180 staffers laid off at Columbia University. I would say now is not the time you would want to be an important member of the staff, because it's very much like the local school budgets that we talk about. It's never cutting kind of this waste. It's always cutting something that's going to scare you. For instance, with the school budgets, it's often, well, if we have to keep it at the tax cap, we got to get rid of after-school activities, arts, band, sports, resource officers to protect our students. It's always those. It's not administrators or something to that extent. So it's kind of a story as old as time. And I know a lot of people, and we are going to talk a lot about it, because people are outraged. And I've seen a lot in defense of the local school budgets. There's been, we've discussed Corning Painted Post, because we had that information. I see that Horseheads is proposing $106 million budget this year. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the school budget vote in whatever area you may be viewing us. I know the Corning Painted Post one, because of the presentation recently, received a lot of attention. There's another presentation on the budget coming up. I want to say it is, I don't want to make anybody confused. I have it right here. But it's coming up. Obviously, the vote is on May 20th. Well, the town forum, if you will, is coming up on the 13th. So right around the corner, we'll have more information for you around that time. Okay. Also, since we mentioned Columbia University laying off 180 staffers, the Trump administration has launched an anti-Semitism probe at the University of Washington after the massive anti-Israel protest where they took over science buildings at the school and lit fires on campus. The violence and chaos that ensued on University of Washington's campus is yet another horrifying display of the anti-Semitic harassment and lawlessness, which has characterized many of our nation's elite campuses over the last several years, said Linda McMahon. This destructive behavior is unacceptable. The task force will not allow these so-called protesters to disrupt campus life and deprive students, especially Jewish students, who live in fear on campus of their equal opportunity protections and civil rights. Now, Monday's protest, organized by Students United for Palestinian Equality in Return, or SUPER, saw members of the anti-Israel student group seize UW's interdisciplinary engineering building, blocking access to the facility, and set 2 dumpsters on fire as they allegedly praised Hamas's October 7th terrorist attack that killed more than 1,200 people and saw another 251 kidnapped. Seattle police arrested 30 individuals allegedly involved in the protest. Trump administration anti-Semitism task force member and General Services Administration Commissioner Josh Grunbaum said these despicable events that occurred at the University of Washington are another disturbing example of how institutions are failing to protect their communities from radical and dangerous harassment. We are thankful to local law enforcement for responding. That doesn't absolve the university for allowing the ground to grow fertile for anti-Semitism. The task force has a clear mandate to ensure institutions that receive federal funds are fully complying with civil rights laws. We will use every tool available to fulfill that mandate. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said that no institution that tolerates violence, harassment, or the open intimidation of Jewish students should expect to receive billions in taxpayer support. Okay, when we come back, a couple quick updates on things that we've brought to you in the past. Then we're going to talk about the New York State budget. What do you think about, and I don't know if you've been following it, but we know that there's kind of inter-party fights going on in the Democrat Party right now. That's why you're seeing the question of whether AOC will be presidential candidate, will she be in a leadership position. Now we know Fetterman, who has been more rational. We don't always agree with him, but been more rational on some of his policy positions. Now they're suggesting he's not mentally fit to be in office. They're suggesting that there is a lot of family drama and health drama going on in his life that they're trying to cover up. They want to, meaning his own party, the left, the media, want to destroy him. It's interesting that now how often things like mental acuity and mental health come up after 4 years of ignoring it. We hopefully get a chance to talk about that and some other updates on the Trump administration. But we got to take our last break of this hour. Get your last minute comments in if you want to make it in the first hour or the second hour. Send them on in now, and we will be right back with Frankly Speaking.
Attention, Elmaron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmaron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmaron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmaron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Sheldon and Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
The Twitter's first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. News on WYDC.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Here is yet another example of why, when I believe people are watching Frankly Speaking and using our thoughts, it's fine. I'm fine with it. I had mentioned to you that the talking point, the main talking point, this was no big prediction, for cutting funding from PBS and NPR because of their bias will be that Big Bird's going to die and that Mr. Rogers is rolling over in his grave. Well, President Donald Trump has fought plenty of political heavyweights, but now he's up against a foe far tougher than Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris. It's Big Bird, says Daniel McCarthy. The president is ordering federal agencies and the taxpayer-funded Corporation for Public Broadcasting to stop supporting national public radio and public broadcasting services. And because they're so biased. How biased are NPR and PBS, says Daniel McCarthy? They mostly appeal to members of one political party, according to Pew Research. 32% of Democrats and Democrat-leaning respondents surveyed say they regularly get news from NPR, and a similar 31% say the same about PBS. Only 11% of Republicans and GOP leaners report that they get news from PBS, and NPR is worse at 9%. Something about NPR is 3 times more agreeable to Democrats than to Republicans. Should everyone be taxed to pay for radio and TV programming that caters primarily to Democrats? Public radio and TV executives hide behind yellow feathers whenever they're criticized. Quote, Big Bird taken off death row, announced a Washington Post headline in June 1995 when Newt Gingrich backed down from attempts to defund CPB. Sesame Street was just too popular with parents. Today's face of public broadcasting, however, isn't Big Bird or Elmo, as Catherine Maurer, NPR's outspoken progressive CEO. America is addicted to white supremacy, said Maurer, who is white. She said that back in 2020. But she didn't make NPR woke, just the opposite. Maurer is in charge because she perfectly represents NPR's pre-existing institutional bias. Before Maurer, NPR was already appending trigger warnings to reading from the Declaration of Independence, with disclaimers appearing not only on items newly published on its website after the 2020 George Floyd riots, but applied retroactively as well. And I'm not going to go through every example of that. Maurer recently testified to Congress that much of my thinking has evolved over the last half-decade. Before her evolution, Maurer also called President Trump a deranged, racist, sociopath, and fascist. She was executive director and CEO of the Wikimedia Foundation, publisher of Wikipedia, at the time. Before that, she was the foundation's chief communications officer. If Maurer has evolved only in the past 5 years, she's hardly cut out to run any media organization, let alone a taxpayer-funded one. But if she really does think the president's fascist and America's racist, and is now lying about these inconvenient convictions, what does that say about her character? Whatever the answer, she has no business leading any organization that claims to be nonpartisan. Her mother happens to be a Connecticut state senator, a Democrat as well. She can't have it both ways, insisting America is in the grip of fascism one moment, then soliciting government support the next. Who'd want to be funded by a fascist government? And also, she did such a horrible job at that hearing. It was actually uncomfortable to watch. Shouldn't it be a point of pride for people like Maurer to accept no money from fascists or racists? NPR's leader is an ideologue, but also an opportunist. And her public statements reveal not only just her animosity toward the Republican president, but in the worldview. Our relevance for the truth might be a distraction that is getting in the way of finding common ground and getting things done, she mused back in 2022. We all have different truths. They are based on things like where we come from, how we were raised, and how other people perceive us. This might sound like mush, but it means that objective truth, truthful truth, one might say, is too divisive a standard, and instead truth must derive from identity and identity politics. NPR's programming and practices reflect that philosophy as much as its choice of CEO. When someone does speak up for a true truth at NPR, it can be expected to be punished. That was the experience of Yuri Berliner, a senior editor for 25 years at NPR, who was suspended without pay after he wrote an essay exposing the lack of viewpoint diversity inside the broadcaster. PBS isn't as erroneously slanted as NPR, but that's not saying much. Public broadcasting is simply a misnomer. These corporations are public-private partnerships, which means, in practice, they take public money to promote private beliefs that align with parties' left wing. Big Bird's popular enough to thrive without subsidies. NPR and PBS have become megaphones for messages like Mars, and it's high time taxpayers stop being forced to pay the bill. I thought that was a good piece on something we had been talking about extensively. We've got a lot of comments. We'll read it in the next hour. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2, mere moments away. Stay with us.
When it comes to pizza, subs, wings, strombolis, and calzones, nobody does it better than Picnic Pizza. Picnic Pizza has been serving the Twin Tiers for over 40 years. With 2 convenient locations to serve you, Horseheads and Big Flats, you can dine in, carry out, or we'll deliver in a 5-mile radius. We offer everyday in-house specials like a family pack, 1 large pizza, 1 dozen wings, and 1 quart of soda. Having a party? How about a party pack? 1 sheet pizza, 2 dozen wings, and 2 quarts of soda. Picnic Pizza, the best darn pizza in the area.
Time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
It's the 25th Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th.
Football's newest show breaks down all things NFL. GMFB Overtime.
Check out top highlights, player interviews, special guests, and everything in between. 5 days a week.
GMFB Overtime. It's football for everyone.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We got some viewer comments here to get to. Coming up a little bit later on during the Steuben County Office for the Aging segment of our program, we'll be talking with the Corning Rotary, so don't miss that. All right, viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Here's an idea. Good morning, Frank. Here's an idea. Instead of adding Canada as a whole, how about province by province? The Western ones seem more supportive of the U.S. than is liberal Ontario. Very good point. Little by little. Chip away at it. If Trump's listening, we're getting a lot of good ideas out there this morning. Mark writes in, as far as Fetterman, the Democrats are trying to make excuses to get him out. But why don't they tell the truth? They don't like the fact that he leans to the right too much for their liking. Yes, and he's in such support of Israel. This is in reference to a piece that came out. Well, we can get to it. I was going to talk about the Democrat Party. You know what? Yeah, we're going to get to that next. Thank you, Mark. Ken writes in, to expand on the U.S. territory theme, the U.S. could also bring in Greenland as a territory. This would give the U.S. more control over the top of the world for energy and mineral rights, as well as a huge military advantage over China and Russia combined. Then the only thing we need to do to control all of North America is annex Mexico. The benefit to that is the Mexican government, under U.S. protection, would no longer be afraid of the cartels, and the Gulf of America will have to be recognized by the Associated Press. Thank you very much, Ken. Just go back to what Mark said about Fetterman. I know I've kind of been hyping this up all morning, but John Fetterman has roundly dismissed allegations that he's unfit to serve in the Senate, attacking a recent report detailing claims of erratic behavior. He called it a hit piece and vowed to serve out his term. In an exclusive sit-down interview with CNN in his Senate office, the Pennsylvania Democrat discussed his treatment for depression and insisted that he is following a strict protocol laid out by his doctors. He pushed back on an assertion from former and current staffers recently published in New York Magazine that he has been exhibiting reckless and volatile behavior. It's a one-sourced hit piece, and it involved maybe 2 or 3 anonymous disgruntled staffers saying just absolutely false things. Such things as he was receiving treatment for clinical depression, that he had become almost impossible to work for. That's his former chief of staff, Adam Jetselson, which is always interesting when you have former workers. Now, he has had questions. We know he had that stroke after he won in 2022. But he said it's outrageous to suggest otherwise, that his mental health is in question. My doctors have confirmed that is not the case. I'm very, very front and center about it. Depression, absolutely none of these other things. And it's like someone that was trying to accumulate my medical records and leak those things, that's part of this weird grudge for this hit piece. He accused Jetselson of holding a weird grudge. If you're really concerned about someone, you would say, hey, let's sit down. Can we talk? It's not like going to the media. Now, Jetselson had said, I stand with what I said, and I hope he gets the help he needs. So now the liberal media is turning on John Fetterman. This should not come as a surprise. As a matter of fact, I would say the only surprise is this took so long, because when he started being in support of Israel and working with the Trump administration on certain issues, it was only a matter of time. With many liberals turning on him following a scathing report focusing on his health, New York Magazine's Intelligencer published a lengthy piece called All by Himself, which says how Fetterman insists he's in good health in the wake of a massive stroke he suffered back in May of 2022. But staffers past and present say that they no longer recognize the man they once knew. Now remember, at one time he was a progressive darling. He really was loved by the left. He then started earning some fanfare from moderates and conservatives, and that's when the trouble began, especially when he showed full-throated support for Israel. This sparked an outcry from his far-left staff members. Many conservative critics have taken aim at New York Magazine's hit piece and believe Fetterman's backing of Israel is the reason why liberals are suddenly abandoning him. Kara Swisher was one of Fetterman's most vocal defenders after NBC News aired a report shedding light on the severity of his stroke, even taking a personal shot at reporter Dasha Burns, who spoke about Fetterman's cognitive challenges she witnessed and questioned whether he understood what she was saying in small talk following a rare in-person interview at the time. Sorry to say, but I talked to John Fetterman for over an hour without stop or any aids, and this is just nonsense. Maybe his reporter is just bad at small talk. This wasn't the attitude Swisher expressed towards New York Magazine. I don't want to go through all this, but what they're doing is all these far left media people are going on Blue Sky and other outlets are, just a far left echo chamber, wanting to attack him, want him out because he had the audacity to be a little bit more moderate, to the point where right after the election, we brought to you that piece where they said that there are two wings of the Democrat Party, the Fetterman wing. Not that he was looking for that leadership position, but just in the beliefs. Fetterman wing and the AOC wing. So I'm not going to go through the whole piece, but the far left is now, and the media, in full attack mode because they don't like that he has the audacity to not toe the party line. So that is what we've been talking about all morning long, kind of in little bits, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I have one other thing before we get to New York State. You've heard me talk a lot on this program about the town halls and my belief that they're really at this time there shouldn't be in-person town hall meetings, town hall forums, because to me they're not done in good faith. You've heard me say this a million times. I don't have to relitigate this. But one of the reasons I bring this up is the signs that you see and the statements that you see by politicians nonstop. It's probably the biggest rallying cry next to do something is that with Trump, it's the end of Social Security as we know it. That Social Security is just going to be slashed. It's going to be destroyed. And this is, for those of us that have followed politics for so long and have maybe spent too much time studying politics, you realize that this is a Democrat talking point going way back. They believe that to be a winner. They believe that they can dupe those that are on Social Security, and it works very often. But they have been using that, and that's for a long, long time, way before Trump, just against any Republican, actually. And you see a lot of signs in regards to that. Well, Leland Dudick said, on my first day as acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration, I promised our workforce we would do two things: focus relentlessly on the people we serve and restore the public's trust in our agency, a crucial linchpin in American life. I am proud to report that we are keeping that promise. More than that, we are delivering real results. President Trump asked us to be bold, not bureaucratic, to be faster, not frozen in process, to care more about service and stewardship than slogans. Under his leadership, the Social Security Administration is doing just that. In these first 100 days, we paid over $14.8 billion in long-delayed retroactive benefits to 2.2 million Americans under the Social Security Fairness Act. We've identified over $1 billion in savings through common sense improvements to travel, printing contracts, IT, and payroll. We have shifted thousands of employees into direct public service roles and ended outdated telework agreements that undermined accountability and responsiveness. Throughout this customer-focused transformation, we have treated our employees with dignity and respect. We've given them options to do what works best for them, whether that means volunteering for a public service role or choosing to separate from the agency on generous terms. Some in the media have erroneously reported that our optimization efforts includes terminating 12% or more of our workforce. Not true. In fact, the number of Social Security Administration employees involuntarily removed from federal service so far this fiscal year amounts to 0.1% of our total employees, in line with the prior year under the previous administration. The American people cannot afford another 4 years of long wait times for Social Security help. We must deliver relief for our seniors and people with disabilities waiting on a claim decision, for young families needing a Social Security number for a child, for every taxpayer who rightly expects government to do more with less. We are rebuilding trust, not through headlines or hashtags, but through hard work and honest service. One of the most moving moments of my tenure came during a visit to a field office in Wisconsin. A father came in tired, quiet, holding the hand of his son with a disability. He didn't expect much. He had been waiting months for help. That day, our staff, leaner, faster, refocused, got him the answer he needed. As he stood to leave, he looked up and simply said, "Thank you for seeing us." He didn't mean the appointment. He meant being seen by his government. That's what these 100 days have been about. We've rolled out a modern telephone platform to hundreds of field offices. It's already improved service on our national 800 number by using AI-enabled self-service tools to reduce wait times and improve call handling. We've implemented new identity-proofing tools that protect against fraud without locking out the vulnerable. And we restarted the Treasury Offset Program to recover billions in taxpayer funds. All this without permanently closing any local SSA field office, vital lifelines for seniors, people with disabilities, and rural communities. SSA's in-person services are not going away. For those who prefer to do business with us online, we are delivering there too. Our secure online portal, My Social Security, continues to perform with near perfect uptime. To increase transparency, we now publish real-time and historical data on the status of critical systems. Through the Payroll Information Exchange, we are now receiving automated wage data from employers, an innovation long promised, finally delivered, that will reduce overpayments, improve payment accuracy, and save nearly $3 billion over the next decade. And through our Health IT partnership, we are cutting down the time it takes to make disability decisions by securely accessing medical records from providers across the country. This is what good government looks like: focused, humble, and urgent. Some complain we are moving too fast. I say the American people have waited long enough. In the spirit of the president's call for results over rhetoric, we have reshaped SSA not to serve a party or a press cycle, but to serve the people. All of them, fairly, quickly, honorably. I've often said that the public service is the most human work in the world. It calls us to be better listeners, better neighbors, better stewards of the promise we make to each American, that when they need us most, we will be there. We are not finished. But if these first 100 days are any indication, the future of Social Security is not just protected, but is being renewed. For that, I thank our extraordinary workforce and President Trump, whose vision and direction have helped light the path forward. Not a bad start, not at all. That's Leland Dudek, served as the acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration, just to kind of negate that talking point that we've heard so much about. I see some comments coming in, but coming up next, we are going to hear from the Corning Rotary Club about the international... Oh, no, that's not next. I'm sorry, I have one more segment. And then we're going to hear from the Corning Rotary Club. See, now I'm just keeping you hooked. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
In a world of rising prices, Nissan is lowering them on our two most popular SUVs. The always adventure-ready Pathfinder and our best-selling Rogue, a Consumer Guide Best Buy 11 years in a row. From our U.S. factories to your driveway since 1983. Now get 3.9% APR for 60 months on Rogue, one of 6 Nissan vehicles with starting MSRP under $30,000.
The Big Fox and Coastal Television bring you 23 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer on WJKP. No Apple Plus subscription, no Fubo subscription, no MLB subscription required. We have the schedule for all of our Mets games on WYDCTV.com. Don't miss May 16th, Mets versus Yankees, and June 2nd, Mets versus Dodgers. Brought to the Twin Tiers by Big Fox.
Get yours at Current Power Sports in Pine City, New York, and Wells.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. A comment from a viewer: where was Big Bird when the Democrats were trying to find a presidential candidate? He would have given Kamala a run for her money. Thank you very much, viewer. Okay, on the New York front, before we hear from the Corning Rotary coming up in just a little bit. Oh, don't forget, one other thing. One last time before I forget. The Kyle Petty Charity Ride Across America is today at the Radisson. Look at all those guests, celebrity guests you'll be able to meet as they pull into the Radisson today at around 3:45. So I think you're going to have a lot of fun at this event, and I hope you can all attend. And if you do, come over and say hi. I'm looking forward to hopefully talking to Herschel about his Senate run and his ambassadorship to the Bahamas. All right. Now let's get back to it. New York State. Taxpayers and politicians will have just hours to review Hochul's $254 billion New York State budget before voting begins. This is one of those headlines that isn't shocking. Everybody knew this was going to be the case. Some people had put out op-eds hoping against hope that this would not be the case, but again, no surprise. State lawmakers will finally begin voting on New York's massive budget package Wednesday. But the public and even politicians themselves aren't sure what the spending bills will say. Thousands of pages of text that make up the budget bill were scheduled to be released starting on Tuesday night, meaning the public and even rank-and-file lawmakers would only have hours to review the package before voting on it. Yes, hours. Some sources are even casting doubt on the $254 billion figure that Hochul announced last week. Yeah, I mean, if you recall last week, this was a done deal. We're not even there yet. But they'll finally begin voting today. This quote, "The senators have not seen a budget bill. We are told they are on their way, and we're going to begin voting this week. We haven't seen one," said State Senate Minority Leader Rob Ort. "Let these bills age. Let us dig in. Let us know what we're voting for the people of New York." Now, under the state constitution, the legislature must wait 3 calendar days before voting on a newly introduced bill, such as the state budget. But that will be bypassed with what is called a message of necessity. And that is, they'll say, because it's so past the budget deadline, which, of course, is just an excuse to use a message of necessity that will allow for an earlier vote. The governor has taken and abused what should be used only for emergencies and done that to jam budget bills through, said North Country State Senator Mark Walczyk. The state budget process is infamously opaque, with the majority of negotiations conducted behind closed doors with the governor and legislative leaders, the three people in a room. Last year, state lawmakers and the governor emerged from backroom talks with a surprise decision to overhaul a Medicaid home care program, the Consumer-Directed Personal Assistance Program. The proposal they enacted had never been previously revealed or openly discussed. The overhaul they approved has been fraught with accusations of bid rigging, lawsuits, and now has led to less home care workers and home care workers going without pay. Now, we also learned that lawmakers have agreed to close up to 3 prisons and, as we mentioned on the way out the door yesterday on the program, lower the age requirements for corrections officers. So 3 prisons next year, and put at least $500 million towards the continued deployment of National Guard troops to backfill prison guard shifts. I've got to say, if you were thinking about becoming a corrections officer, and you've seen the disrespect that other corrections officers have received from this governor, you see the horrible working conditions with the HALT Act, the list can go on, and you're thinking about becoming one, or maybe you just recently became a corrections officer, then you learn that, and last time I think it was 90 days notice, the governor could close a prison. So you could have your family living in a nice house and be told that in 90 days you have to move to the other side of the state if you want to keep your job. Just another way to disrespect our corrections officer. Now, the agreement also would lower, as I mentioned, the age that someone can become a corrections officer from 21 to 18. The changes to the state's prison system, made as part of the ongoing budget negotiations for Hochul's $254 billion fiscal plan, come in the wake of a 3-week prison strike in February that deepened existing staffing shortages and further revealed systemic issues in the management of its facilities. So this Carl Hastie, the Assembly Speaker, confirmed the deal regarding the state's prison system yesterday, and lawmakers have yet to release a final version, surprise, surprise, of the budget, as we mentioned. So there you go, up to 3 prison closures and lowering the age requirements for the guards. We have a couple other New York State issues, but we do have to go because we've got to talk to the Corning Rotary. So that happening when we come back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
It's time to stock up on your favorite New York wines at GCP Discount Liquors and Wines in Horseheads. GCP Discount Liquors and Wines has the largest selection of Finger Lakes wines in the southern tier, all under one roof. Whether you're looking for Lakewood, Wagner, Wise, or Haslett 1852 Vineyards, GCP Discount Liquors and Wines is your convenient one-stop shop for these great wineries and more, all at the area's lowest prices. Shop GCP Discount Liquors and Wines in Horseheads, the best in service, selection, and price.
It's the 2025 Waterfront Festival and Cardboard Boat Regatta, a day full of fun for all ages. Register at watkinsglen.com/waterfront festival. Hope that boat is sturdy for the big day, June 14th.
Hey, this is John with John's Tree Service. We are locally owned and insured and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. John's Tree Service, your source for all your tree needs, where customer satisfaction is our guarantee. Give us a call today at 607-377-6513.
Seneca Lake offers you breathtaking views, gorgeous waterfalls, award-winning wine, and so much more. Your experience awaits you. Come experience Seneca Lake.
It's a season of sharing.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
If you're looking for things to do this weekend, check out our Things to Do page on WYDCTV.com. Find volunteer opportunities, local workshops, family events, and more. Visit WYDCTV.com and click the Things to Do tab to learn more.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and this is the Steuben County Office for the Aging section of our program. Steuben County Office for the Aging, committed to maximizing quality of life, safety, and independence. And in the Hesselson studio this morning, we're going to be talking about the Rotary International Dinner. Thanks so much for being on the program.
Now, am I representing the aging?
Yes, you are representing our sponsors.
I'm doing it well.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Of course. I want to talk all about the International Dinner. How's the planning going?
I think it's going very well.
Very good, yeah.
It's 1 month from today.
1 month from today. Manny has great entertainment.
Yes.
We have wonderful food, and it's going well. Tickets are starting to sell.
Oh, good.
But
yeah,
we've got more to sell.
We've got more to sell. We'll get to that. We'll make sure we sell the soap, as they say, right? Yeah. But before we do that, tell us a little bit, kind of the basics of the International Dinner Celebration. For someone that hasn't been, what is this all about? What is it for?
So,
me, okay?
Yeah.
Probably for the last 15 years, Rotary has sponsored, the Corning Rotary has sponsored an international event, a dinner or some other kind of event, to raise money for its international projects. I think to understand the dinner, you have to understand Rotary. Rotary is an international organization with local roots. And so we're a service club, like some of the other service clubs. But our job is to create community building projects within our own community and then internationally throughout the world. So we have a special committee called the International Services Committee, which every year contributes about $9,000 to grants to projects around the world that Rotary is somehow involved with.
Which is very impressive. The list is actually on the website you see on the bottom of the screen. But are there any of these projects that you want to highlight specifically where the monies went to?
Well, yeah, we're very excited on what's called a global grant. We were able to turn our energies into working with another club in Uganda, Soroti, Uganda, into a grant that totaled $73,000.
Wow.
So I was able to, in this Rotary district, which is Rochester and about 50 other clubs, we were able to raise around $32,000, and then with matching gifts from the Rotary district and also from Rotary International, we have $72,000, and we've just started this week to start sewing and tailoring training for approximately 150 young men and women, mainly young women, all of whom are unskilled, all of whom are unemployed. Great unemployment figures in Uganda.
Sure.
And so they're going to learn how to be a sewer, tailorer, and then we're going to give them a machine when they graduate so they can start their own business. And in addition to that, we will also have a business that will be starting, a micro business that will manufacture, using some of the same seamstresses, sanitary products that are reusable and affordable. The onset of menstruation is a time when girls drop out of school, drop out of the workforce, end up being married at very young ages, having children, and a life of poverty is set for them. And so what this particular mini factory will do is help to alleviate that problem by making affordable products for them.
Well, and this is very interesting because when you think about, I love events like this because you get to have a wonderful time. It's a very special event, but you're ultimately changing lives.
Right.
That's precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
So tell us about the event in particular. What's kind of the, I guess for lack of a better word, goal of the dinner?
Probably we need to raise $9,000.
Well, so that's the easy
obviously,
question.
But we like to raise a little more, so we've got money to start up for next year. And you never can tell
right.
what's going to happen. So And especially in these times, it's important. Besides this project, we've got water projects, safe drinking water projects in El Salvador. No, in Ecuador, excuse me. We have
Uganda.
Yeah, another project in Uganda. We've got refresh my memory.
The Nepal Heart Orphanage in Nepal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So then we have another project in the sewing machines. We are sending to the Ugandan 100 women in Uganda. We had sewing machines. We are not only sending to them, we are also teaching them how to sew the clothes and everything. And so
I think the other big projects are in Nepal.
Yeah.
And in Guatemala, where we're purchasing cook stoves.
Okay.
Smoke inhalation is really a problem.
I'm sure.
And so this changes families' lives to be able to have a safe cook stove within their house.
Yeah.
We're talking about the International Dinner Celebration. Hold on, I didn't realize that I haven't even said the date yet. Saturday, June 7th at the Radisson Hotel in Corning. That's, of course, 125 Denison Parkway East. Doors open right around 6 o'clock. So what would you tell people thinking about attending this event?
Yeah. So Corning Rotary, we have local projects and international projects. Sure. But mostly we are, supporting these projects by fundraising. And this fundraising is mainly coming from the international celebration of dinner. Yeah. International celebration, our main goal is connecting people together. Yeah. We have hundreds of people in this area, southern tier, Corning, Ithaca, Elmira, and if you go to Rochester, we all together, we have people from various countries, and so my goal is to bring everyone together. Connecting people together, bringing people together is my main expertise. So we will be having entertainment that's coming from people from China, India, and Filipinos, Spanish, Irish, and we are going to have entertainment from all over the world. Yeah. And I would like to have everyone participate so that we can feel it's a International Day of Happiness. That's what I call International Day of Happiness. That it will be huge. It will be huge. We have our flyers, and so if anyone would like to participate, they can still contact me. I can incorporate them into the entertainment.
And tell us about the Chinese lion dance.
Oh, so Chinese, we have folk dances from everywhere, like I said. So, but one of our main attraction is going to be Chinese lion dance.
Oh, okay.
And this is going to be some of my Chinese friends dressed up in lion, and they are going to be all over the audience. So they are going to start from the 6 o'clock when we start. They will be bringing from the lobby to the ballroom, and they will be doing the dances, and then they will go around the audience. There are lots of round tables there, and they are going to be
very colorful,
and it's amazing dance.
And all of it comes with great music.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I want to make sure we got the date right.
Yes.
It's June 7th.
Yes.
Because I noticed when I was on before, I said July 7th.
Oh, okay, June 7th.
But it's June 7th, so it's coming up very soon.
A month from today.
Also, part of it is food.
Yes, of course.
There's an expression I always love for the kind of food we have. It's called heavy grazing.
Yes.
Where you get to eat lots and lots and lots of small finger foods, and it will really be an international group of foods. And you were saying some of the foods that will be.
So we will have food from North America, South America, and Caribbean, and all. You name it, from everywhere.
We have food from Antarctica.
Antarctica, yes.
Only it'll be a surprise.
European.
Okay.
European.
No, I mean a surprise that. Do you know what the favorite food of Antarctica is?
Not a clue.
Cold soup. What is it called?
I don't.
Cold soup? You would think hot soup would be the favorite.
No, I know, but it isn't. You know I'm old.
That's all right.
And
Cold
it
soup
just
works.
disappeared
Cold
from me.
soup works for me.
Yeah, it's a
Very
cold tomato
descriptive.
soup. But anyway, it's delicious.
It is going to be very
And there'll be shrimp and all sorts of wonderful
barbecue.
Oh,
yeah, and
hors
so-
d'oeuvres. Yeah.
hors d'oeuvres.
And then the event kind of culminates at the end with the live auction. What
Yeah.
should people know other than to bring their checkbook?
Yes.
What about the live auction itself?
Well, first of all, Dale Wexel's our auctioneer.
Okay.
Now Dale is probably as good at twisting arms as anything, but he won't have to twist many arms because we have some great prizes, things to auction off. We have a trip.
Mm-hmm.
Trip includes 2 or 3 days in Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
It includes the bus tours around town.
Oh, okay.
A lot of the museums, most of the museums are free, but we also give them the number of Representative Langworthy's office where they can sign up for a tour of the White House.
Oh, yeah.
They can get a tour of
the Capitol, I think.
the Capitol
Yeah.
building,
Yeah.
you know, all of those things. So it's really a wonderful, and so we have accommodations for 2, but it could be for 4 if you.
We also have a sail plane ride.
Oh,
Ride, sail.
the gliders?
Yeah, gliders, I
Yeah,
think.
I know that was a plan.
Well, it's not too late to donate to the auction, is what you're
It
saying.
was one of the plans.
Yes.
You know, I'm also working on Disney stuff. That's one of the plans
Right.
too. But we have wonderful artwork. Dinner at the Radisson for 6. We have Billy Spalding from Corning Catering. We'll do a huge picnic for
Of course he
for
will.
people.
He's so great about that.
A lot of great things to bid on.
So make sure you bring your checkbook, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know what another one is. A day of sailing and brisket making.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes.
That sounds fun.
So, yeah, it really is, and you get to take home a whole lot of meat.
It sounds it. And again, we're talking about the International Dinner Celebration. It's Saturday, June 7th. It begins right around 6 o'clock in the ballroom at the Radisson. 6:20 is kind of when the program commences. Now, I know, looking at your poster, people can purchase tickets at Studio LMG. That's 94 West Market Street.
Right.
And I'm sure there's other options. We have the website up on the screen so people can find out more. I'm guessing I know the answer to this. Is it too late to be a sponsor?
No, it isn't. What a surprise. What a surprise. Because we do have a lot of sponsoring opportunities. And so if you have a small business and would like to do that, we are counting on some big help from Corning Incorporated.
Sure.
You know, raising $9,000 from dinner tickets is not easy.
No.
You know, from what it costs us for the dinner,
Sure.
Yeah.
probably the donation's around $25 out of the. By the way, the tickets for this are $75.
Okay.
$75.
They were $100.
Yeah, that's right.
And now, so we've lowered that price. We've changed the date. We've moved down a little bit farther, and we've really increased the entertainment too. And the food is spectacular.
Yes.
So we're really looking forward to this. And you're doing a good thing for the world.
You really are.
And we're celebrating, which is what I love about it. This is a culturally diverse community.
Yeah.
We depend on the fact that we have Chinese people and Indian people
and Mexicans and
Yeah.
Latinos.
Such a
and all
diverse
those.
community.
who work
Yeah.
for Corning Incorporated
Right, yeah.
in great scientific positions. They're not stealing anybody's job. They're doing wonderful things, and they're an important part of our community. And so we want to just celebrate.
Celebrate it. And then, because everyone is like in a small pocket right now.
Sure.
When this event will be bringing all of us together in one place. And that's what we like to have a connection.
It's a real wonderful, colorful aura because people
Right,
wear their
yeah.
native
Oh, yeah.
costumes.
Yeah. So anyone who comes to the party, please wear your costumes, and so we will all look different, and we'll be a one happy family.
That's right.
I've got an African shirt
Yes,
that I'm going to
yeah,
wear
yeah.
that was made by one of the girls
Amazing.
that we taught to sew
That's
in
amazing.
Uganda
yeah.
4
Wonderful.
years ago.
Wonderful. All right, just before we go, here's when I get to the tough question. For the event, what are you each individually looking forward to the most about the dinner? I'll start with you.
I will be looking forward to see all the international people wearing in beautiful dresses and having a good time and eating all the food, sharing the food from all countries, so that will make us happy. I'm looking forward to that.
My dream is that I don't eat all the food.
I thought someone would have to say food. Well, thank you so much for being on. And again, I had mentioned earlier, I will, if anybody has any questions, they can contact the number on the bottom of the screen. I can get them in contact with you if they want to be a sponsor, they want to buy tickets. But also, like we said, go to Corning, New York, CorningNYRotary.org.
Correct,
All right, best of luck with the planning.
And
thank you so much for
thank you so much, Frank.
We'll keep promoting it, don't worry.
We appreciate it very much.
Anytime.
Everything is coming here.
For something amazing like this. I love it. Well, we'll be right back, but frankly speaking, stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Get yours at Current Power Sports in Pine City, New York and Wellsboro, Pennsylvania.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud.
7 and 7:30 on Big Fox.
Catch Twin Tiers local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you to our friends from the Corning Rotary. I hope everybody can make it out to the international dinner. We appreciate them being on the show. Let's go to some viewer comments from over our interview, but also from before that. Ken writes in, Hochul is a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat. She believes in the Pelosi theory on reading bills. You have to pass the bill to see what is in it, and that's exactly what will be happening with the New York State budget because of that order of necessity. The lawmakers and us, the taxpayers, will not have an opportunity to read it before it is voted on. Pete writes in, I just saw a list of the salaries of the top 20 administrators' salaries in Corning. Shocking. How far down the list of salaries do we need to go before we see somebody that actually teaches the kids? I think that there should be a state law that the budget vote needs a super duper majority of 75% if administrative costs exceed a certain percentage. Yes, because right now there's that majority that they need to reach, and we've talked about that because they're going, what is it, 7%? I don't have it right in front of me. I've got to get that back in front of me here. What they're asking over the budget. We know that they have said if they need to keep it within the tax cap, that they'll cut all these horrific things, after school programs, security for the elementary school, all not ever focusing on administrator salaries. Of course, that never seems to be a part of the conversation. There seems to be a lot of outrage. Now, I have been on various social outlets where very much people are buying into the line of vote yes for the kids, but when do those increases, especially when you see the administrative salaries, when is that called into question. But thank you for that. I like the idea of a super duper majority. It may keep some people in check. And as I mentioned, what did I say? The Horseheads budget is $102 million this year. Back to the New York State budget. It includes, conveniently enough, a deal for a 2-year delay of income cap for lawmakers. Dozens of state legislators whose outside income exceeds the $35,000 annual limit that was supposed to take effect in January are being provided a last-minute escape hatch, as legislative leaders have included a provision in the state budget delaying enforcement of the law for 2 years. Very helpful for those lawmakers. Also, we learn about, speaking of schools, the bell-to-bell cell phone ban in public schools will go into effect next school year, so the fall school year, 2025-2026 academic year. It applies to all kindergarten through grade 12 public schools in the state, that cell phone ban. Okay, also, I have a moment. Now listen, let's take a seat here for just a second, because you're going to want to hear this, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. This is important. So we know that right now the only name that has been kind of out campaigning for governor of New York State has been Mike Lawler, Congressman Mike Lawler. We talked about him yesterday in regards to he is still one of the Republicans holding a town hall and receiving a lot of negative news coverage for doing so. I still don't see how the pros in any way, shape, or form outweigh the con of doing that town hall, because even though he did it, like is demanded, he did it. He got screamed at. All the news articles was about a woman being dragged out, which is, of course, is exactly what she wanted. So then, now we fast forward. Mike Lawler is kind of the presumed, right now, candidate. But then we hear the name Elise Stefanik. And Elise Stefanik, now we learn, is seriously considering running for governor. I believe President Trump got a little ahead on this. I think he likes the idea of Elise Stefanik running, because yesterday Donald Trump endorsed Congressman Mike Lawler, but not for governor, endorsed for Congress. Congressman Mike Lawler is a strong champion and highly effective representative for the great people of New York's 17th congressional district. A true American first patriot, Mike is fighting hard to secure our border, grow our economy, create jobs, lower taxes, promote American energy dominance, support our brave military veterans and law enforcement, defend our always under siege Second Amendment. Additionally, he is endlessly working to get the maximum SALT deduction. Mike is doing an outstanding job representing the Hudson Valley and all of New York. Because of the excellent job he is doing, Mike has my complete and total endorsement for re-election to New York's 17th congressional district. He will never let you down. So preemptive, almost in a weird way, using this endorsement to knock him down a peg, which is interesting, because this is effectively signaling you've got my support for Congress, but let's let Elise Stefanik make her decision about governor. That was a very big tweet in the New York world, in our world, because that sends a clear message that if Stefanik's going to get in, Trump's going to be all behind Stefanik. Because why endorse Mike Lawler this early on for Congress unless it doesn't even take much reading between the lines? But if it's not to say, hey, take a step back to Elise Stefanik. I thought you'd find that interesting. All right, keep your comments coming in. We will be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
William Mattar has earned a reputation for being a straight shooter.
Because I am a straight shooter.
For being honest.
Here's what we're willing to pay.
Because I am honest.
For winning a lot.
Because we win a lot.
If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, it matters who you hire. It matters in the experience as well as the results. Call William Mattar. Visit WilliamMattar.com.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Big Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website. The Twitter's first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. news on W.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. A comment from a viewer. After being shocked by the Corning School District's proposed 6.33% tax increase, I decided to do some research and look at their budget. From what I've found, it's not about the kids, but more about the administration. This is the second viewer who has said that this morning. The top 20 administrators make a combined $3.231 million. Add to that the 63% in fringe benefits, health insurance, pension, disability, workers' comp, etc. And you're talking $5.266 million annually for 20 employees. There are 57 employees in the school district that make above $100,000 a year in salary. As a point of reference, Steuben County government has 45 employees making over $100,000, and 17 of those are attorneys, district attorneys, and public defenders. Michelle Caulfield, the school district superintendent, and her business official, Paul Webster, make more than each of our 4 sitting New York State Supreme Court justices in Bath. Our county manager makes $177,000 a year and manages a county budget of $259 million with 900 plus employees. For a $146 million proposed budget, the school district administration is top-heavy, and based on the superintendent's public comment, it doesn't appear that they're willing to cut anything in the administration. There are assistant superintendents for just about everything. Teachers and anyone else that interfaces daily with students should be protected, but the bloated bureaucracy needs to be addressed. It's always the same response from the district anytime a budget proposal is voted down. They start by cutting student-centric programs rather than from the administrative offices. Those people are focused on protecting their gravy train right up until their retirement. For example, Mike Janalski, the retired former district superintendent, is collecting a pension of $149,360 annually for the rest of his life. Wow, that viewer putting in a lot of research, and I appreciate that. I know there is tempers flaring over the school budgets in our area, not just in Corning, some issues with Horseheads, but I love the back and forth. So thank you for sending that in. I do appreciate it. Get your last minute comments in as we nearly wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. We do have one more break, and then we are going to, well, we'll just say buckle in, because we got a lot to get to in the next 5 minutes. But more importantly, I want to hear your comments. And again, thank you for that amazing comment. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
William Matar has earned a reputation for being a straight shooter.
Because I am a straight shooter.
For being honest.
Here's what we're willing to pay.
Because I am honest.
For winning a lot.
Because we win a lot.
If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, it matters who you hire. It matters in the experience as well as the results. Call William Matar. Visit WilliamMatar.com.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Big Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website. The Twitter's first prime-time local news. Catch weather, local and national news, events, and more with our anchors, Dante, Haley, and Ann. Find out what's happening in your community and more by watching Big Fox 10 p.m. news on W.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Governor Kathy Hochul and other Democrat state leaders are going to be hauled into Washington, D.C. to face congressional grilling over their reckless, as it's being described, pro-migrant sanctuary policies. Governor Kathy Hochul, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker are being called to D.C. next month to face a congressional hearing over their state's pro-migrant policy. So that's just a quick update. There's also an interesting piece, if you have a chance, at the New York Post. A new study shows that defunding the police actually, surprise, surprise, resulted in more killings. According to the Major Cities Chief Association, a police group that tracks crime levels, murders rose 44% from 2019 to 2021 across 70 of America's largest cities. But then something happened. Big city murders fell dramatically from the peak from over 9,600 in 2021 to 6,900 in 2024. What explains it? Policing. First, the lack thereof, and then its return. No surprise. One last story before we go. I wanted to mention this earlier during our New York State section. But our friend, Steuben County Chair Kelly Fitzpatrick, released a statement saying for 3 years, our people have endured what should have been once-in-century disasters over and over again. And while the waters keep rising, so does our determination. We are done waiting. We will not be ignored. Now, severe and repeated flooding has battered homes, destroyed farmland, crippled infrastructure, and put lives at risk across Steuben County. In response, local officials have taken aggressive steps to assess damage, reinforce vulnerable systems, and prepare for future disasters. But Fitzpatrick made it clear local action alone is not enough. Quote, Steuben County is doing its part and then some. But this is bigger than any one county. We need the full strength of our state and federal partners, and we need it now. This is not just about rebuilding what was lost. It's about protecting what still stands. It's about making sure our families, our farmers, our small businesses, and our first responders are not left to face this crisis alone. In a message directed to those impacted by the flood, Kelly Fitzpatrick delivered a powerful message of unity and resolve, saying to every resident who has lost a home, a harvest, or a sense of safety, you are not forgotten. We are fighting for you, and we will not stop until real solutions are delivered. She concluded, Steuben County is not asking for charity. We're demanding what's fair, what's right, what's long overdue. We will not be sidelined, and we will not be broken. I thought that was a very powerful message from Steuben County Chair Kelly Fitzpatrick, declaring that Steuben County will no longer accept delay, neglect, or half measures in the face of worsening flood crises that continue to ravage our region. So thank you to Kelly Fitzpatrick. Okay, one last thing on the national front. CNN's News Central Network contributor Harry Enton noted that a recent poll by Ipsos showed that Americans view President Trump's efforts to address crime significantly better than former President Joe Biden. This speaks to one of Trump's best issues, right? The idea of Alcatraz. You think law and order, you think Donald Trump. I mean, look here. All right. Net approval rating, handling crime. What do we have? We have a positive rating for Donald Trump, even in the most recent polling. Look at that, at plus 2 points. Far better than Joe Biden, who was so far underwater. He was setting records at minus 26 points. You rarely ever see that. All right. Oh, so Donald Trump ran in part on law and order. It was one of the reasons that he got elected. And at this particular point, Americans like what they're hearing from him on the issue of crime. And you see that right here with a plus 2 net approval rating, far better than Joe Biden. But yet you have the Democrat Party still looking for Abrego Garcia and protecting him. I don't think it plays with the American people, but that's none of my business. That is theirs. Don't forget, folks, today is Kyle Petty charity ride across America. Hope to see you there today at 3:45 at the Radisson right here in Corning. You won't want to miss it. Well, thank you for all the comments. Thank you to the Corning Rotary for joining us this morning. We've got a busy lineup the rest of the week. We'll make those announcements. One, do I have it here? I don't have it in front of me, but we will have those announcements later on. I thought I had my list in front of me, but you do not want to miss us all week because we have guests all week, and next week we're getting booked up as well. You never know who's going to appear on Frankly Speaking, and we do appreciate all of our guests. If you have any suggestions for guests, I do warn you that it's not always possible to get these guests, but I would like your suggestion. You see the number on the bottom of the screen. You can reach out at any time and say, boy, I'd really like to hear from my town supervisor or my city council member or whatever. We'll try to do our best to get them booked for the show. And I hope that you'll tune in every weekday morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning bright and early. I look forward to it already.
When you think boots, think Hesselsons. Hesselsons has the largest selection of work boots in the area. Composite and steel toe boots, Met Guard boots, soft toe boots, and hikers, duty and western boots all in one location. Hesselsons at Meyer Heights. Hesselsons has men's and ladies boots in all sizes and widths. Choose from the largest names in the industry. Danner, Carolina, Timberland Pro, Keene Utility, Thorogood, Area, and Georgia, to name just a few. Hesselsons has been locally owned and operated since 1955, so when you think local service and great selection, think Hesselsons. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsons.